Everyone in that glass chapel believed Maya Brooks's life had ended the moment her groom publicly called her a thief. Even Maya believed there was no escaping the shame. But neither she nor the hundreds of witnesses could have imagined that one quiet decision she made months earlier would uncover a conspiracy stretching from Chicago's richest families to its darkest criminal empire. Before this story is over, the woman everyone underestimated will become the only person capable of saving the mafia boss, his family, and everything he has left to lose. The glass-walled chapel, crowning Chicago's Blackstone Hotel, shimmered beneath the afternoon sun, its skyline reflected across polished marble and rows of ivory flowers. More than 300 guests rose as Maya Brooks walked toward the altar in a graceful ivory gown. She felt every familiar glance measuring her size before noticing her smile, yet she lifted her chin anyway. Today wasn't about proving she belonged. It was about beginning a life with a man who had promised she would never feel invisible again. The bishop smiled gently. If anyone has reason— Wait. Evan Whitmore's voice cut through the chapel. A giant screen behind the altar flickered alive. Bank transfers, encrypted files, and security reports filled the display beneath Maya's name. Confused whispers rippled across the room before dissolving into complete silence. "I can't marry a thief," Evan declared, taking a wireless microphone from his pocket. "The woman standing beside me stole confidential financial data from my family's company. She planned to use this marriage to get even more." Maya stared at the screen, unable to breathe. "That's impossible," she whispered. "I've never seen those files." "You expect anyone to believe that?" Evan asked coldly. "You fooled me for months. You won't fool everyone else." Cameras rose throughout the chapel. Guests leaned toward one another. Maya searched the faces she trusted, hoping someone would object, but every second stretched into another layer of humiliation. 2 hotel security officers approached. "Miss Brooks," one said quietly, "please come with us." Maya's fingers tightened around her bouquet. "Evan, why are you doing this?" He looked at her without warmth. "Because the truth deserves witnesses." The heavy chapel doors burst open. Every head turned as measured footsteps echoed across the marble floor. A line of men in dark tailored suits entered first, calm and disciplined. Then Adrian Cole stepped through the doorway. The temperature inside the room seemed to drop. No one spoke. Chicago's most feared mafia boss walked down the center aisle without rushing, his sharp gaze fixed on the glowing screen instead of the frightened bride. He stopped only a few feet away. "Nobody touches her," Adrian said evenly. The guards froze. He studied the documents for only a moment before looking directly at Evan. Those records were fabricated. The silence became almost unbearable. Then Adrian spoke the words that changed everything, and the person who created them just tried to steal my empire. Maya felt every eye swing toward the stranger. She had never met Adrian Cole, so how could he possibly know she was innocent? 3 months earlier, Maya Brooks never imagined that question would one day decide her future. She lived in a modest brick apartment on Chicago's South Side, where every morning began with fresh coffee, the rumble of the elevated train, and checking on her Aunt Lorraine before heading to work. Lorraine often joked that Maya carried the weight of the whole neighborhood on her shoulders. Maya would laugh, though years of being overlooked because of her size had taught her to hide disappointment behind quiet humor. At Sterling Digital Audit, clients frequently assumed she was the receptionist instead of the cybersecurity specialist assigned to protect their companies. Maya had learned not to argue. She preferred letting her work speak after everyone else finished talking. Late one rainy afternoon, panic swept through the office. A nervous intern named Tyler stood pale-faced while his supervisor accused him of deleting confidential client records. "You've cost us our biggest account," the manager snapped. Tyler could barely answer. Maya silently opened the server logs. Within minutes, she traced every missing file to an outdated backup script the company had ignored for months. Tyler hadn't deleted anything. "You owe him an apology," Maya said calmly. The room fell silent. The manager reluctantly admitted she was right, but Maya accepted no praise. She simply smiled at Tyler and whispered, "Everyone deserves someone who checks the facts first." Just before closing time, her director hurried over carrying a thin folder. "Nobody wants this assignment," he sighed. "Minor accounting irregularities at Cole Logistics. Probably nothing." The company expected her to spend one routine afternoon reviewing shipping records. Maya accepted without hesitation. As she left the building, rain reflected neon lights across the wet sidewalks. She never noticed the black SUV parked across the street or the man inside lowering a pair of binoculars. At that exact moment, hundreds of miles of encrypted financial traffic continued flowing beneath Chicago's largest private harbor. Hidden inside those transactions was a single $1 transfer. Then another, and another. Exactly 417 of them. The tiny $1 transfers blinked across Maya Brooks's monitor like quiet heartbeats, too precise to be dismissed as coincidence. Outside the control room windows, Cole Harbor stretched beneath a gray Chicago sky, its towering cranes moving containers through mist, rolling in from Lake Michigan. Every few seconds, another encrypted shipment cleared the system without triggering a single security alert. "They're harmless test transactions," one executive said impatiently. "Sign the report so we can move on." Maya didn't answer. Her fingers danced across the keyboard, comparing timestamps, routing paths, and authorization keys. The numbers formed a pattern no accounting error could create. "They aren't moving money," she said at last. "They're opening doors." The room grew quiet. She enlarged one chart. Every dollar transfer unlocked a secure shipping route for exactly 8 seconds before disappearing without leaving a financial trace. "Someone built temporary access points inside your own network," Maya continued. "If this keeps happening, anyone with the matching key could move cargo without ever appearing on your official records." One executive scoffed. "That's a dramatic theory." "It isn't a theory." She rotated her laptop toward the conference table. "It's evidence." Before anyone could respond, the heavy conference room door opened. Every conversation stopped. Adrian Cole entered without an escort, his charcoal suit immaculate despite the rain outside. No introduction was necessary. The silence that followed him carried more authority than shouting ever could. He glanced around the room before settling his gaze on Maya. "Who refuses to sign my security clearance?" The executives immediately pointed toward her. Maya stood. "I do." One manager whispered, "Miss Brooks, think carefully." She met Adrian's eyes anyway. "If I approve this report, I'll be certifying something I know isn't true." For several long seconds, Adrian said nothing. Then he walked to her screen. His eyes scanned the pattern once, twice. Finally, he looked back at her. "Do you understand what you're implying?" Maya nodded. "I understand that someone inside this company knows these hidden routes exist." Adrian slowly turned toward the others. "Lock this room." The electronic bolts clicked into place. His voice remained calm. "Only 7 people know those routes exist." Then his eyes returned to Maya. "And one of them just betrayed me." No one in the conference room moved. Rain tapped softly against the floor-to-ceiling windows while the electronic lock sealed every exit with a quiet metallic click. The executives exchanged uneasy glances, but Adrian Cole remained perfectly still, studying Maya as though weighing every word she had spoken. "You have 10 minutes, he said. "Show me why you're certain." Maya drew a slow breath and reopened the access logs. She highlighted the hidden route, then enlarged a second timeline. "The same authorization key appears here," she explained, "but the employee assigned to it couldn't have entered the restricted warehouse." One security captain frowned. "And why not?" She clicked another file. "Because he was admitted to Mercy General Hospital at 8:14 that morning." A photograph appeared beside the medical record. Mr. Harris. The 70-year-old janitor everyone inside Cole Harbor knew by name. One executive scoffed. He could have slipped out. Maya calmly shook her head. He underwent dialysis. Hospital surveillance confirms he never left the building. Adrian's expression hardened. Bring him in. Minutes later, Mr. Harris shuffled nervously into the room, still wearing his faded maintenance jacket. 2 armed guards stood behind him while he twisted his cap between trembling hands. I swear I didn't steal anything, sir, he whispered. Maya looked at him instead of the guards. May I see your employee badge? Confused, he handed it over. She examined the worn plastic carefully before comparing it with a digital entry record. Then she smiled. This isn't the badge that entered the warehouse. Several people frowned. She pointed toward a tiny scratch near the magnetic strip. His badge has been damaged for months. The scanner would reject it unless someone cloned the data onto a new card. Silence settled over the room. One technician hurried to verify her conclusion. Less than a minute later, he looked up, stunned. She's right. Mr. Harris lowered his head, tears filling his tired eyes. I thought nobody would believe me. Adrian slowly walked toward the old man. Without saying a word, he picked up the maintenance cap that had slipped onto the floor and handed it back. You'll receive full pay while we investigate, Adrian said quietly. No one accuses an innocent employee again without proof. The old man's shoulders shook as he whispered his thanks. Maya noticed something else before anyone left. On the enlarged security footage, the person carrying the cloned badge briefly adjusted a silver ring engraved with the unmistakable crest of the Whitmore family. Someone wanted the blame to fall on Mr. Harris, someone much closer to Maya than she could possibly imagine. By midnight, Cole Harbor had emptied into rain, but Adrian kept Maya inside the command center. He offered her a temporary consulting contract and an astonishing number. I'll take the standard rate, she said. You're turning down 6 figures? I'm turning down a reason for you to think you bought my judgment. Adrian almost smiled. Over the next week, Maya moved through his world. Armored elevators, windowless boardrooms, and black cars crossing Chicago at night. Yet the most guarded place was a hospital overlooking Lake Michigan. There, Eleanor Cole sat beside a dark window, her memory damaged by the ambush that had killed Adrian's father and older brother. When Adrian approached in his charcoal suit, she recoiled, mistaking him for one of the men from that night. He stopped outside her room. I can control a harbor, he said quietly, but I can't make my mother recognize me. Maya saw the helplessness beneath his power. She loosened his tie, removed his jacket, and handed him a gray cardigan. Then don't go in as Adrian Cole, she said. Go in as her son. Inside, Maya dimmed the lights and set dinner down. Adrian sat without speaking. Eleanor studied him, then touched the scar near his temple. My boy, she whispered. The words broke through his control. He lowered his head while Maya turned toward the window, giving him privacy. For 20 quiet minutes, mother and son shared soup beneath the bedside lamp. As Maya prepared to leave, Eleanor suddenly gripped her wrist. Her cloudy eyes sharpened with terror. The woman with the silver ring, she whispered. She was there the night they killed my husband. Adrian froze. On Eleanor's bedside table stood a photograph of him beside Vanessa Crane, and on Vanessa's hand gleamed a silver ring. Maya stared at the picture, then back at the frightened woman in the hospital bed. Eleanor's breathing grew uneven, as if the memory had pulled her years into the past. She smiled before the shooting started, Eleanor whispered. She knew what was coming. A nurse quietly entered, assuming the elderly woman was confused again. Adrian thanked her with a nod, but his eyes never left the photograph. He had known Vanessa for years. Their families had trusted each other. She had managed charity events, press conferences, and sensitive business negotiations without a single public mistake. You think my mother recognized her? He asked after they stepped into the hallway. I think your mother recognized the ring. Maya answered carefully. Memories fade. Symbols often don't. The words lingered between them. The following afternoon, Vanessa arrived at Cole Logistics wearing a cream-colored suit and the same silver ring. She greeted Maya with effortless warmth, complimented her work, and even thanked her for helping uncover the cloned security badge. You've become very important around here, Vanessa said with a pleasant smile. It isn't about me, Maya replied. It's about protecting your company. Our company, Vanessa corrected gently, though something cold flickered behind her eyes. Later that evening, Evan called Maya while she was leaving the harbor. You've been spending too much time with Adrian Cole, he said. People like him destroy everyone around them. Finish your assignment and let's move the wedding up. I don't want you anywhere near his world. Maya frowned. How did you know I was still working at the harbor? I never told you my contract had been extended. Silence filled the line for one long second. Then Evan laughed softly. I must have guessed. The answer felt rehearsed. That night, Maya opened her laptop to review the day's findings. The screen suddenly lit by itself. A hidden folder appeared. Without anyone touching the keyboard, a file she had permanently deleted 4 years earlier began downloading onto her desktop. Someone else was already inside her computer. Maya yanked the laptop off the internet, but the transfer had already finished. The restored file contained an encryption tool she had written as a graduate student, a harmless prototype designed to protect medical records. Someone had quietly rewritten her code into something capable of creating invisible access points inside secure networks. Her stomach tightened. Only a handful of people had ever seen that project. The next morning, she carried the laptop to Cole Harbor. Adrian listened, without interrupting, while she explained how her old work had been altered. This wasn't stolen to make money, she said. It was stolen to open doors without leaving fingerprints. Adrian's jaw tightened. Then you're no longer just a consultant. He ordered preparations to move Maya into his heavily guarded estate outside the city. She surprised him by shaking her head. I appreciate the offer, but I won't solve this by hiding behind locked gates. You'd be safer. I'd be controlled. The words hung between them. Adrian studied her for several quiet seconds before speaking again. Then tell me what you need. Instead of arguing, he offered 3 options. A secure apartment of her choosing, a discreet protection team that would stay out of sight, or an emergency device linked directly to his security network while she continued living normally. Maya smiled faintly. You actually listened. I've spent too many years believing control and trust were the same thing. She chose to remain in her own apartment with only the emergency device. Adrian respected her decision. Without telling Maya, however, he assigned one person to watch from a distance, Naomi Price, a former federal protective agent whose apartment happened to overlook Maya's building. Days later, Naomi knocked on Maya's door carrying homemade blueberry muffins as an excuse to introduce herself as the new neighbor. While chatting in the kitchen, Naomi admired the diamond engagement gift Evan had recently given Maya. Something caught her attention. She turned the velvet presentation box over. Hidden beneath the lining was a paper-thin electronic chip no larger than a postage stamp. Naomi's expression changed instantly. This isn't jewelry, she said quietly. It's a listening device. Maya felt the room spin. Only one person could have placed it there, and he had asked her to wear it every single day. Maya stared as Naomi sealed the listening device inside an evidence pouch. She wanted to confront Evan immediately. She never got the chance. By 9 the next morning, Sterling Digital Audit had disabled her badge and summoned her into a glass conference room. 3 executives and an attorney waited. Her director slid a folder across the table. Your credentials were used to steal files from Cole Logistics. That's impossible. The access logs say otherwise. Maya opened the folder and saw her name, authentication key, and fragments of code she had written years earlier. Every page framed her. She explained the stolen file and the device hidden in Evan's gift. No one listened. "You're terminated, effective immediately." Reporters crowded the rain-soaked sidewalk. By noon, Maya's photograph was everywhere. Headlines called her desperate and ambitious. Commentators discussed her body, her Southside address, and her engagement as though years of honest work meant nothing. Old wounds opened all at once. Evan arrived and wrapped his arms around her. "I believe you," he whispered. "We'll move the wedding up. Once you're my wife, no one can touch you." For one exhausted moment, Maya wanted to believe him. Then Adrian called. "I need more time," he said. "The evidence is too clean." Maya heard only doubt. "So you think I did it?" "I didn't say that." "You didn't say you believed me either." She ended the call and turned off her phone. 2 days later, dressed in ivory, Maya prepared to enter the Blackstone Chapel. Aunt Lorraine stopped her before the doors opened. "I found this in your mother's Bible." She handed Maya a sealed envelope. Inside was a contract signed years earlier by Evan's father. Beside a hidden payment schedule appeared one name Maya already feared: Victor Hale. She barely had time to fold the document back into the envelope before the wedding coordinator called her name. Now, standing beneath the vaulted glass ceiling of the Blackstone Chapel, Maya finally understood why Aunt Lorraine had looked so frightened. Evan wasn't ending a marriage. He was finishing a plan. His voice echoed through the silent room as the fabricated records remained frozen on the massive screen. "This woman manipulated everyone around her," he declared. "She stole from powerful people and thought marrying me would protect her." Several guests lowered their eyes. Others quietly lifted their phones. Near the third row, Vanessa Crane remained perfectly composed. Her elegant smile never changed, while a small control tablet rested beneath her program. Hidden beneath the floral arrangements, tiny cameras streamed every humiliating second across multiple media platforms. Maya's hands trembled, but she forced herself to breathe. Fear had ruled too much of her life already. When Adrian stopped the security guards, she didn't hide behind him. Instead, she stepped toward the giant display. "Leave it on," she said. Evan laughed. "You still think you can explain this?" "No." Maya looked directly at the screen. "I think your mistake is already showing." The room fell silent again. She enlarged one document and pointed toward the digital timestamp. "These files claim they were created from my laptop." She opened another page. "But the server synchronized them using Cole Logistics' internal clock." Confused murmurs spread through the audience. "That system isn't connected to my home computer," Maya continued calmly. "Someone built these records from inside Adrian Cole's private network." Vanessa's fingers tightened around the tablet. Adrian watched Maya instead of the evidence. For the first time since entering the chapel, he wasn't protecting her. He was trusting her. Maya slowly turned toward him. "They never wanted these people to believe I was guilty." Her voice remained steady. "They wanted you standing here instead of at the harbor." Adrian's expression changed instantly. His phone vibrated. One glance at the encrypted alert drained every trace of color from his chief of security's face. Across the chapel, every emergency exit locked at the exact same moment. Then the wedding screen went black. A live satellite image of Cole Harbor appeared. Armed vehicles were already moving through the outer shipping yards. Red warning lights flashed as the hotel doors sealed. Guests rushed toward the exits, but Adrian's security team held the room. Maya studied the harbor map. The attack routes were too precise. Whoever planned them knew the blind spots and location of the data vault. Then she heard a pulse beneath the wedding music. "The sound system," she said. "That's how they got inside." She tore the cover from the console and found a hidden transmitter feeding code into Cole Logistics. It was spreading through harbor gates, cameras, elevators, and even the network protecting Eleanor's hospital floor. Adrian stepped beside her. "Can you stop it?" "Yes, but I have to shut everything down for 90 seconds. His security chief went pale. That leaves the harbor blind. And the hospital exposed, Maya added. Adrian said nothing. Then he removed a black encrypted phone from his jacket and placed it in her hand. This controls every secure system I own. Maya looked up. You're giving me full access? I'm trusting the person who saw the truth before any of us did. Maya entered the shutdown sequence. A timer appeared. 90 seconds. Adrian ordered Naomi to stay with Maya, then turned toward his men. We take back the harbor. He paused beside her. If this becomes too dangerous, walk away. She held his gaze. You trusted me with your empire. I'm not abandoning it now. The lights died. The chapel vanished into darkness. Outside, engines roared as Adrian's convoy raced toward the lakefront. Inside, emergency alarms pulsed red across the glass walls, while Evan and Vanessa moved through the crowd toward Maya's console. The final hospital camera flickered before the network went black. A man in medical scrubs had just entered Eleanor's room. Maya forced herself to stay calm. Panic is exactly what they want, she whispered. Naomi immediately contacted the hospital through an emergency analog line that operated outside Adrian's digital network. While security teams rushed upstairs, Maya focused on the transmitter hidden beneath the chapel's sound console. It's using my old encryption model, she realized. That means it still obeys one rule. Evan stepped closer with a mocking smile. You finally figured it out. You never understood the code, Maya answered. You only stole it. Her fingers flew across Adrian's encrypted phone. Instead of deleting the malicious program, she reversed its direction. Every command it sent into Cole Logistics now copied itself onto a protected backup server beyond the attacker's reach. Vanessa lunged toward the console, but Naomi blocked her path long enough for Maya to complete the transfer. 89 seconds, Maya whispered. At the harbor, Adrian's convoy swept through the front gate just as the security network came alive again. Locked barriers dropped into place, trapping the stolen trucks before they reached the shipping lanes. His men recovered the data vault without firing a shot. Inside the hospital, the disguised intruder was intercepted outside Eleanor's room moments before reaching her bedside. Eleanor remained unharmed. The countdown reached 0. Every monitor inside the chapel flashed with recovered files, private messages, financial transfers, recorded meetings. Victor Hale's name appeared beside Evan Whitmore's and Vanessa Crane's again and again. One recording captured Victor calmly discussing the ambush that had claimed Adrian's father and brother years earlier. Another revealed Evan's father had secretly financed the cover-up. The room fell into stunned silence. Adrian returned minutes later, his shirt marked with dust from the harbor, but his eyes fixed only on Maya. You saved my mother, he said quietly. You saved my company. He paused. You saved my family. For the first time since this nightmare began, Maya no longer felt like the woman everyone doubted. She was the one holding the truth, and the truth had finally turned the entire game upside down. The chapel stood in complete silence as Maya lifted Adrian's encrypted phone and connected it to the giant display behind the altar. Every recovered file appeared in perfect order. Bank transfers, private messages, hidden contracts, timestamps. Nothing relied on accusations anymore. Everything relied on evidence. Evan's confidence vanished. Those files are fake, he shouted, though his voice no longer carried the certainty it had only minutes before. They came from your own server, Maya answered calmly. You didn't choose me because I was weak. You chose me because you believed a woman who had spent her life being underestimated would never believe anyone could stand beside her without lying. She turned toward the federal prosecutor who had attended the wedding as one of the Whitmore family's guests. You have everything you need. The prosecutor quietly accepted the copied records while officers moved toward Evan and Vanessa. Neither resisted. Across the screen, Victor Hale's recorded conversations continued playing. exposing years of deception surrounding the attack that had shattered Adrian's family. Adrian never celebrated. He simply walked to Maya. "You gave me back the truth," he said. "No amount of power could have done that." 1 year later, spring sunlight poured through the same glass chapel. There were no reporters, no cameras, no invited strangers, only Aunt Lorraine, Eleanor Cole, Naomi, Mr. Harris, and a handful of people who had earned their place there. Maya had rebuilt her life. Her cybersecurity firm employed talented people who had once been dismissed because of their appearance, age, or background. Adrian often said his strongest investment had never been a company. It had been believing her. He stood before Maya, holding a small velvet box. "I don't want to rescue you," he said softly. "You've already proven you can change the lives of everyone around you. I only want the privilege of walking beside you." Tears filled Maya's eyes as she nodded. "This time," she whispered, "I'm choosing, because I know my worth." He slipped the ring onto her finger. Outside, Chicago stretched beneath a clear blue sky. Inside, no queen was crowned by a king. A remarkable woman simply stepped into the future she had earned, while the man beside her understood that the greatest strength was never control. It was trust. When Adrian placed that ring on Maya's finger, he wasn't rescuing her. He was honoring the woman who had already saved his family, his future, and even the parts of himself he thought were beyond healing. This story reminds us that trust is never created by promises alone. It grows through the choices we make for each other, especially when fear would make walking away much easier. Today, think about someone who has quietly earned your trust through their actions, the way Maya did. If that person is in your life, don't wait for the perfect moment to let them know how much their loyalty means to you. Have you ever met someone who completely changed your first impression? I'd truly love to hear your story in the comments below. And if Maya's journey touched your heart, take a moment to share this video with someone who might need the same reminder today. Stay with us, because the next story may challenge your heart in a completely different way.